do you feel like the global economy affects us nationally? Our economy globally. We're in a global recession still. Europe is in a lot of trouble, and then here in the States, you have an election year. Do you feel like things just aren't getting done in Washington right now? I mean, that people are sitting on the fence, worried about what's going to happen with the euro, what's going to happen with China, and what's going to happen here locally with the United States and the presidency.
Absolutely. I think that particularly, with the international situation, it's getting much worse. We always talked about Greece, was going to go under, and that was going to cause problems. But now it's with Spain just recently. I mean, they've all been on the bubble, but it really is getting worse. And I think that this is. Some people say it won't affect us. A lot of people say that it certainly will. The one thing that we've been able to accomplish in the last couple of years is our exports have increased, and we're worried about what's going to happen with that.
Do you think the strengthening dollar will help the transportation industry as a whole? I mean, that we'll be able to buy more material and put more people to work as the dollar continues to improve?
Well, I think that's always true. If the dollar improves, we'll do a lot better. But I think that the election, too, is... Unfortunately, you kind of see that everybody is very set in their positions. But this is not just to do with the election, but what's happened with the makeup of Congress is there's been a movement on one side more to the left and on the other side more to the right. And there's fewer of us that sit in the middle. In 2008 and 2010, we lost a lot of what we call the two-state group. That's the moderate Republican. In 2010, we lost the Blue Dogs on the side of the Democrats, and so that there's more people that are much more set with the ideology that they have. Then that's why I think we see less working together.
Would you agree, though, that our natural resources here in this country are underutilized for job creation and just expansion? I mean, you talk about the Keystone Project, talk about transportation infrastructure. Obviously, this country's falling apart, and it seems, with highways. Our bridges are in disrepair across the nation. How urgent is this bill to get through to get companies like Vulcan back to work and get this raw material in the hands of people who can put it to work and they themselves get jobs?
Well, that's very important that we can create more jobs, that we have the industry. And if these companies don't get back to work, increase the work, there's not going to be the companies. As we've gone around and talking to so many different companies, they say, we can only stay in business for so long, and we are going to have to lay off people if that doesn't happen. And it's across the country. And we do have the resources, and look what's happened with the oil and gas. With I believe in let's do it all, drill, and then do the alternatives, the wind, solar, geothermal, and nuclear is all very important. But right now, our base is really the oil and gas, and that's why Keystone is important, because that will create a lot of jobs. And we want to reduce our dependence on particularly, so many hostile countries that have oil and gas, and we really have more. We've discovered more the gas. We've got more for oil than we've ever really thought. So we have to do it, and there's been the barriers that the government has put on. I went down to Louisiana when with the BP spill, and we saw there that the EPA and the president shut off all the drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. I saw 3 rigs just close up while I was there one day and move on to Brazil. We can't let that happen.
How important was it to see Congresswoman Biggert out here this morning to get your point across that things are slow, times are slow, these transportation bills need to get through, even though it's an election year, items like this can fall through the cracks, and evidently they already have.
Absolutely. It was important a couple ways. I really wanted to have the Congresswoman meet some of her constituents in this area that she's running in. This is a part of her new district. So she and her staff are really happy to come out here, meet the men and women that work at Laramie and see the operation. That was part of it. Secondly, though, we want to give her some recognition in the press and with this member about she's one of the people that are warriors, for the people of Illinois and people of our nation who are saying, I'm a Republican, but I may take a different view than the leadership because it's good for the people as a whole. She was known for bipartisanship when she was in the Illinois General Assembly. She's known for it now. And those are the kind of people we need to see in D.C.
How many years have you been at Vulcan?
6.5 years.
Is this the slowest year, or is it progressively gotten slower for you as an employee of this quarry?
I see this year very similar to last year or two within Vulcan as far as the slow time. Whenever I first started with Vulcan about 6 years ago, that's when it was very busy. But as the economy has kind of taken a hit, and so is construction and movement of stone out of our yard. So I see this year very similar to last year.
You talked a little bit about job losses. I mean, job creation is always the buzzword in Washington, but job losses are still a reality and when times are slow. And talk about, how at its peak, what would Vulcan employ, and where are you at now?
Vulcan at the peak was employing close to 10,000 people across the country. Vulcan is the largest in our industry in the country, and they had 10,000 employees, and we've reduced that by upwards of 3,000 people. So that's the impact to Vulcan in our industry, but it's also industry wide.
I know that a lot of federal money gets thrown at the roads, but there's also a lot of state money that gets thrown at the roads, and with the state and the financial condition it's in, it's got to have had some impact, either positively or negatively, on your industry here in Illinois.
Well, first of all, let me say that sometimes the federal transportation can account for as much as 60% of our road funds, transportation plans. So now you understand, or the average taxpayer understand how important it is to get the federal bill. It's just extremely critical. I will say a positive happened, which was we needed additional bonding authority, and we're able to get that in a session that just completed. $1.6 billion was added. It was needed to finish out the capital program from 2009. I believe $800 million, or closer to between $800 and $900 million, was going to go to roads. We think that's a really, really positive. I believe in the House it was like the third to last issue taken up. So it's really important. Why is it important? Right now, the annual IDOT bill or programs like $2.9 billion to $3 billion. Without this additional bonding authority, next year's program would have been $1 billion. That had been a 66% drop off. But because we got this, now we're looking at $1.75 billion, which is still a significant drop off, but not near like we would have had. So that's a really good thing. We're appreciative of the governor's office and IDOT and Schneider and the key legislators that work with us and the industry groups to get that done.